Hey, I'm Ethan Hussey, and I'm an 800 meter runner from Leeds, and I'm hoping to make the 2024 Paris Olympic Games.
Ethan, thank you so much for coming on the podcast first and foremost. If I say 381 miles leads to Paris, what instantly comes to your mind, comes to your head?
Olympics, simple, really. Yeah, that big event this year.
It is huge. I know it's something that you're targeting for the summer. It's probably worth like setting the scene a little bit because we've got all sorts of athletes and Olympians coming on this podcast. Some who've been there and done it, and some like you who are looking to go there and do it. So tell everyone a little bit about yourself, Ethan. 800 meters, really difficult discipline, and you're looking to go and do it and hopefully get to the Olympics.
Yeah, looking to go to the Olympics at a 20 as a 20-year-old. It's not bad. I didn't really expect to be in this position, although it's a position I wanted to be in. But now it's here, it's a bit daunting, but it's also exciting at the same time.
Yeah. And it's one of those, isn't it, that some names are already synonymous with the city of Leeds. And I guess your aim is to make yours one of those that when people hear the name Ethan Hussey, they're going to think Leeds, sport, and one of those big names.
Yeah, hopefully. Throughout history, Leeds has obviously had some great sporting personalities come through. Alistair and Johnny. It's great to just to be at the track alongside them and coming through and seeing them in their career and also training alongside them even now in the latter stage of their career whilst I'm at the start of mine. So, their experience through sport and the Olympics has been a massive help for mine as well.
We'll want to hear all about where you're up to and where you're at the moment. You've got yourself a cup of coffee there. We got like snacks in and drinks. We had the biggest conversation about what would be appropriate snacks for an athlete ahead of going to the Olympics. So we got biscuits, we got fruit, we really weren't sure what to go with.
If it wasn't for training, I'd be tucking into them now. But after this, I'll be going straight to training, so it's probably not ideal.
How disciplined do you need to be at the moment in terms of all that kind of stuff? How much of an impact is it, and all the training, the diet and the regime? It must be pretty full on.
It is and it isn't. It's all individual, really. You'll obviously come across certain athletes and personalities that will be obviously really strict with what they eat and how they conduct themselves throughout a day, or you'll come across athletes like myself that can be quite laid back and just kind of just go with the flow. I think that's probably best for me because it just keeps me relaxed. Just so I don't actually become so fixated on it and essentially just stress myself out. So obviously with stuff like the biscuits and the coffees, it's not too abnormal for me to tuck into them every now and again.
Can we bring over the Lotus biscuits? I feel like they're on the wrong table at the moment. They're all good. And is that your approach really? It's laid back, it's take everything as it comes. You're in this part of your career where you're transition from junior to the senior circuit as well. Is that how you find it best to get on with things, to just not let things phase you?
Yeah, it shouldn't need to phase me because I've got age on my side, but I'm also a hungry athlete that wants to be there competing with the best because I know I can be the best. So it's just keeping it measured.
What's that like, knowing that you can be the best? Because I've never had that feeling. I can run 800 meters, but it ain't going to be the kind of speed you're doing it. What is it like? And I know you don't say that with arrogance. You say that knowing because you have an ability and you've got to believe in that ability. But what's it like knowing that you are that good at the thing that you do?
There's one thing knowing it and there's another thing showing it. And I think this year it's kind of time for me to really start to show it and actually show that I have the belief in myself and obviously the belief that everyone else has in me throughout all the years to be able to get to this point where I'm at in my career already.
You're 20 at the moment. I was on your Instagram and I went right back to the start of it because I just thought, I wonder what's right at the beginning of that. No need to be embarrassed. Went right back to the beginning of it. And it was a picture of you. I guess it was a schools competition. I think it's back in like 2012, 2013. So the John Charles Centre, and there's you and some other kids there. And I say kids because you were a kid at the time. You had outstanding junior times. That's must have when you kind of got an inkling. Oh, I'm pretty good at this. Can you even think, does that seem like a lifetime ago, even though it's not that long ago in the grand scheme of things, going back to those days where you were just, I guess, racing with your school pals?
It feels, like you said, a lifetime ago, but also feels like yesterday. Still only in university, so still at school, but I always grew up loving sport. So whilst obviously doing track with all my friends, I was doing rugby and football with all my friends because I love sport. I knew I was good at it and I enjoyed it a lot. So Yeah, it's nice to obviously look back on that, and then just kind of obviously with my friends as well, who have obviously done other things in their life and what they've obviously gone on to do, and myself as well, and kind of how our projections have gone.
It's gone pretty well. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but World Junior 800 meter bronze medalist. Right, what was that like picking up your first major medal?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, everyone close to me knows that like pulling on the GB vest and the GB kit for the first time was long overdue because of my age, because of COVID as well. So it was almost like 4 or 5 opportunities were taken away from me because I was either too young to go to the competitions or because of COVID as well. So yeah, to finally actually put on the kit and perform in wearing the kit on a world stage was an immense feeling.
What's that like when you get the note? And I don't know how it comes with it. It's an email, a phone call, a notification, a ping, whatever it is, saying, yeah, you're representing Team GB. What was that moment like?
So I had that same feeling the year before, but because of COVID, I was actually at the airport and I did my test to fly, and I couldn't fly because I tested positive.
So what was that supposed
That
to be
was for Europeans. Yeah.
I'm thinking back to that time where we all had the moment where maybe you had a test, you missed out on something, going to a party or a holiday. But that at that point of your career, how old would you have been then?
17.
I was going to say 16, 17.
Yeah.
And you're in the airport.
Yeah, airport the day before with the team. Funny enough, Luke Shaw scored the goal in the final. Got an email saying that I tested positive, and yeah, had to go up to my room and isolate.
That is just heart-wrenching. It's a stupid question in a way, but what were you feeling at that point? Can we even put that into words?
First feeling was to get away from everyone else on the team because you don't want to obviously put them at jeopardy. So, and then kind of just sat in my room, just isolated, and it kind of slowly started to hit. And then the next morning, seeing the team walk off, that was probably the hardest part. And then obviously watching the competition. So it's kind of different stages. It's almost like, okay, right.
And you said Luke Shaw, so you're talking about the Euros final,
Yeah.
aren't you? And we lost that as well.
Yeah.
A great weekend all in all.
Great week.
Yeah.
Great couple of hours.
Yeah. And you're telling me you're a Man City fan and it was a Man United player who even scored the goal. So
Yeah.
it's, either way. So you put that disappointment behind you.
Yeah.
And you then get that moment. What was that like?
It was just great. The whole atmosphere, the whole trip in general. It was out in Colombia, so it was a whole experience in itself. Obviously, a long travel with the team in a completely new, different country to what you'd expect, all in Colombia. So it's just like, wow, it's very eye-opening. And then to obviously perform in a massive stadium like that against the best junior athletes in the world, you couldn't really write it.
So you're there probably thinking it's a long way from Wortley.
Yeah. Long way from Wortley.
A little bit different. European under-23 silver medalist as well.
Yeah.
Bronze turns to silver.
Yeah.
Quite quickly. Talk us through that.
If you speak to my coach, my family, and people around me, they'd probably say that's probably the most frustrating race of the year. I mean, I ran it completely horribly. I came storming through at the end, and yeah, it could have been gold, it could have been bronze. Came out with silver, still very good, but the expectation was the gold. But due to my own poor tactics that day, I had to go with the silver that day. But I mean, it's obviously lessons learned. Like you said, it's a step up from the year before of bronze, and yeah, there's only one more place to go.
Is that the mentality that you have to have? You know, I'm sitting here listening to you saying it was a silver medal. I mean, that's for many people, that's a North Star dream to get a silver medal in anything. And there you are. Yeah, great to get a silver medalist. You get to put it around your neck. You get to stand on that podium. It's a great feeling, but it's not what you went there for. Is that the mentality you need to have?
Yeah, I mean, you obviously put yourself on the start line. You train all year round, and you prepare to win gold. You don't prepare to come out with a silver or bronze. You obviously go there to win gold. So I think when you look at it from that perspective, it was almost a bit disappointing, but I think all things considered, it was a very good recovery from myself to come away with silver still.
You're British Junior Male Athlete of the Year as well. I mentioned these things and you're talking about, like, do you feel, as an athlete, do you feel pressure Do you feel like a lot of people have been talking about you and, hey, you're here on this podcast. Why are we talking to you on this podcast? You've not been to the Olympics yet. You've got to qualify, hopefully, for the Olympics. But we want to chat to you. We want to hear about you because we've heard such good things, and we're hoping that this is going to be, like I say, your name's going to be a name that we talk about for a long time. Does that pressure resonate with you, or are you in your own zone?
Over the years, it hasn't really affected me. I think as being a very good junior, as a lot of people would say, I was always winning, running a lot of fast times. There was almost the talk there of like, can you do it at a senior level? Like there was a lot of negative talk of, oh, he'll burn out. But it never got to me because I was like, I can prove them wrong, because I knew what my strengths were, and that wasn't just my athletic ability, but my coach. I knew we were doing the right thing. There was never a doubt. There was never a question there. So in that sense, there's always been something to kind of prove and live up to. But I think now on a senior stage, it's a bit more real, because you are at the top end of the sport now, where it does matter. And I think the pressure did get to me last year at the British Champs, the World Trials. I didn't know how to deal with it because it was a first time thing, and ultimately I did crumble in the race because of nerves and pressure that I put on myself, not from anyone else, but just because it was my first time in that situation. So I wanted to make the team, my first senior team. I mean, probably what didn't help is going into it with the fastest time, so essentially the favourite, and I almost knew I had that target on my back, especially being the youngest. So I just didn't know how to deal with it, but it's better to have that last year than this year.
I definitely want to talk about 800 metres as a discipline itself, because it's one of those fascinating ones. 100 metres, run as fast as you can, get to the line, dip, you're done. 800 metres is not quite that. And I want to get onto that in a moment, but you mentioned something there about the team around you. And I know when you've won stuff in the past in terms of medals and awards, you've always been really quick when people have asked you about it to talk about it's not just you, it's that team around you, it's your family and all those people that help you. There must be a moment you realise, I guess, I'm pretty good at this, yeah? Or is it someone that points it out to you? Is it a coach that says, Ethan, there's something here, mate, that could be special? What is that moment? What was it for you?
There's almost like a turning point rather than a moment. I knew I was good. Obviously growing up doing different sports and not just athletics. I came from probably a rugby background, believe it or not, considering how small I am and stuff. But
who'd you play rugby for?
West Park.
Yeah, were you any good?
Yeah, that's quite good. Yeah, that's thanks to my dad. Obviously I grew up there from a very young age playing, and then obviously through his influence I did other sports as well, and led me to athletics. And I was doing that at the same time, and I was kind of doing both hand in hand, and it got to a point where like I kind of wanted to take one a bit more serious. Ended up being athletics. To this day I still couldn't really give you a true answer as to why. Just one of those days where I picked athletics. I was clearly enjoying it more at the time, and I started to obviously put a little bit more time and effort into it, as you would do a little naturally, and my performances got way better. I think I went from missing out on the final to the national champs to the next year winning it, and I think I ran the second quickest all time for the age group. So I think that was the year where I was like, okay, like,
let's just pause on that a second, because you said that so like quickly. Oh yeah, no big deal. That's second fastest time ever for your age group. I mean, the junior times that you've posted are right up there with some of the great athletes that we've produced in this country. That must be just a mad thought for you.
Yeah, I think when people have kind of said it to me, be like, oh, like you're quicker than Steve Cram, Mo Farah and people like that, it is a bit like, okay, it kind of puts a bit of like substance to what you've actually done, rather than just seeing your name on a sheet and then your name's a bit higher than some other people. But when people kind of say it to you, and actually it's almost just a bit more recognition to it when people are seeing it, believing it and telling you. But yeah, I mean, it's all junior stuff really, like I said before. I mean, it's always been drilled into me that, yeah, okay, you've done well as a junior, but let's make it happen in the long term.
Yeah, and first time you sort of step up to those senior ranks and you're looking around, you're going, all right, we're not messing about anymore. This is the real deal. That must be a total change, that transition from junior to seniors. The moment you step out there and you just look around you at the athletes you're now competing against, different ball game, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's completely unforgiving and ruthless. my coach has always made it like clear that obviously throughout growing up in the ages, you're going to go to obviously the age group champs, and I've always wanted to chuck myself in the deep end, be like, no, like I want to concentrate on the big things. Like, no, like it's important to obviously do that. And I think like now I'm kind of definitely seeing that he is correct, because it's just experience, especially this year, having an under 23 champ, same as the Worlds. I kind of wanted to go all in on Worlds, and he was like, no, just rein yourself back in a little bit. And it's always frustrating at the time, but I think obviously in hindsight it's a great thing. I'm sat here now, obviously it was a great thing, because the under 23 champs was the week after the British senior trials, so I went into it a lot calmer, because I knew that like I knew how to deal with it a lot better, and I performed. So yeah, it's just ruthless, because you have to be on your A game at all times really, because no one's gonna let you get by you. It's like, no, like, because end of the day it's obviously people's jobs as well. Positions obviously becomes very, very important, because cash prizes and whatnot and sponsors. So yeah, it's not just necessarily about having fun anymore. It's the real world now.
Yeah, welcome to the real world.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. You were talking about playing rugby as a kid. 800 meters is so different. You go from like playing team sports to this individual, like I say, discipline that is you, and you're responsible for you and how you do it. It's not a team sort of game anymore. Is it quite a lonely thing doing 800 meters as a discipline?
It can be at times. You find yourself traveling around the world, in Europe, in airports, in random places on your own, and you've got to find time to kill. Like, I mean, I was sat there at 2 a.m. in Frankfurt airport last summer, sleeping on the floor, because I needed to get there at that time, otherwise I'd have missed my flight, because I was racing in the middle of nowhere. So it's just stuff like that. You kind of got to be responsible, and I say that that's probably the thing that I enjoy the most, is almost the responsibility you have to take on yourself. And you're not the only person you answer to, because you've obviously got your coach and other people, but you are essentially solely responsible for everything that happens on the track and off the track.
Do you miss Leeds when you were away? You were a sort of homebody, or do you like getting away, seeing the sights? Yeah,
I like to be away, because I mean, more often than not, I'm in a place that's a very nice part of the world, in South Africa on training camps. So I like to be there a lot. I think Leeds is great, but it's not warm.
It's not the warmest. If you can get away to South Africa for a little bit in the winter, here you're doing all right, aren't you?
Yeah, so I do like I like the travel part of it, but I mean, you come to the end of the season and you find yourself having, I don't know, multiple weeks off of a season break, and you don't really want to go away, because it's like, not another airport. You kind of just want to stay at home and just chill and just. But I mean, it's all how you want it to be.
Sure. Do you take anything with you from home when you go away and you're traveling for competitions?
Just my kit and my spikes.
Chris, you've got to take something with you, surely.
Nah, just the basic. Just take what you need, really. Yeah, you can't. Yeah.
I think you need to add that into your bag. a little something from home.
I guess probably my headphones.
You can do better than that, surely. Yeah. Let's talk about 800 meters as the discipline, because it is one of the hardest ones. If you're going to go and pick in terms of how competitive it has been over the years and the talent it's produced, like worldwide and in Britain, it's so difficult. The racing is so difficult. It is, like you say, tactical. It's not just one foot in front of another, is it?
No, I mean, people know that there's this rich, deep history within middle distance running within Britain, and I think now we're starting to get to a point where we're living up to it and almost creating our own history now within the sport. And we're definitely there within the 1500. Obviously, we've got multiple medalists in the past 2 World Championships and Olympics. But it's about time now. Obviously, the 800 stood up to that, and we're like, actually, we can rival this, because there's too many people to name at this point now where that are all vying for 3 spots to the Olympics, and it's frustrating but great to see. It's frustrating as an athlete, because there's so many, like, the getting the qualifying time is almost the easiest thing now, because getting to a final is the hard part now, and then making the team is probably the harder than getting the time. So it's great to see, because we obviously push one another in terms of the competitiveness, and we know that if we do make a team, that we can do. We're up there in the world to go out there and win medals, as we saw from Ben Patterson this year.
You mentioned earlier about that race in at the Europeans about getting silver, and you didn't quite time it right. You didn't quite get the tactics right. How much of it tactically are you doing before the race, looking at the people that you're going to be up against, knowing how they race? Is it I race my race and it doesn't matter who else is there, or is it looking at the other people? How do you balance those two things? You don't want to end up running a race, I would have thought, where you spend more time thinking about your opposition and competitors than you have done about yours, and you end up not winning it. You want to focus on yours, but there is a balance.
Yeah, I mean, just like anything, there's always planning and preparation that goes into it. Obviously, you're not going to be sat there 10 minutes before the race, quickly going through Google, and watching people's races. You're going to know beforehand, just to be prepared. You know what people do. You don't go into too much depth, but I think once you're on the start line, that kind of all goes out the window, and it's more just how quick can you think on your feet. And I learnt the hard way for once.
Is there always looks like there's plenty of jostling going on?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe more in the 1500 than the 800, because the 800 is a little bit quicker, so therefore it's over quicker than the 1500. But always looks like little nudge to the ribs, little don't trip over that foot. How aware are you about what your surroundings and what's going on?
You've got to be so aware. I mean, because we're all running so fast, and everyone's trying to get the better position here and there. We're all running so fast and so tightly compact. So there obviously is an element of that, and you've just got to make your space your own. If it does mean getting your elbows out. I mean, I've had a few over the years being probably one of the smaller people in the fields that are the other guys try to throw around the weight and height against obviously people small like me. But it's just a bit of planning, bit of prep, not too much overthinking, because once you're out there, anything can happen really. And like I said, you just got to think fast, and essentially the quickest one wins in more ways than one.
Describe to us what it feels like to see a finishing line and knowing that the one behind you is not going to catch up with you. It must be, I'm never going to experience that. It must be a great feeling of just seeing that line and going, oh, this is it, here we go.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously you don't know what's going on behind you, so it's great, and you're just like, come on, just it's there, just go, and you're hoping that no one comes past you. It's a great feeling crossing the line, because obviously you've won, from whether it be the highest level of competition or to a local one. You're still winning, so obviously everyone's success is measured as to what it has been. So a win means just as much to anyone in relative matters, really.
You mentioned about training in South Africa. Boo-hoo, we all shed a few tears for you there, going off to nice warm weather camp. Oh, devastated for you, mate. But on a serious note, and this is just looking through the work that you're doing and the stuff you put out there on social media, it's pretty grueling, right? The training that you are doing is intense. Talk us through your home life at the moment, because you're balancing that with university life, with studying, and with training. Talk us through that part of it here in Leeds, as to where you're based, what you're doing, how your week is split up in this really important lead up to the summer.
Yeah, well, look, I've got a really good strong relationship with Leeds Beckett, the university I'm at. They're really accommodating to obviously my goals and my needs in terms of outside of university. So I've said it before, it's just planning and preparation just around it, just identifying where like there's going to be a lot of crossovers in terms of uni work, races, training, where the stress points are going to be, and how to kind of mitigate that the best you can. But luckily, like I said, I've got a good team around me in terms of my coach, advisors through whether it be at university or within the group as well, that all work as one to be able to make things as smooth as possible for me, really.
Talk us through your average week here in Leeds at the moment, what you're doing other than coming in here to have a little chat, avoid Lotus biscuits that we're trying to force down you, and all that kind of stuff. What are you actually doing? What's your day-to-day looking like at the moment at this stage of an Olympic cycle?
I mean, training's relentless. Obviously training hard, but measured. It's very easy to get carried away and take some unnecessary risks. Obviously some risks are required, because
when you're saying training's hard and relentless, give us a real insight into how hard and relentless, because they're words, but what are you actually doing at the moment?
I mean, you'll be training 6 days a week, Fridays day off, and then most of the days it's training twice a day. Sometimes potentially even 3 times, like on a Tuesday, Monday and Wednesday, sorry. It's like you'll run in the morning, do gym, and then you'll run again in the evening. And then on session days, it's your main they're your hard days. You make sure you're ready to go on them, and then everything else you can kind of get through, but you're just letting the body recover as well. So it's intense, because obviously you're trying to keep yourself in one piece, about with food, physio, and then uni work as well.
You used the words hard and relentless, and I wasn't going to let you get away with that without making sure that it was. And to be fair, it sounds like it is. So I'll give you that one. What's the hardest thing you do in training, like physically? What kind of stuff you do, other than the running, of course, which you'll be doing in massive amounts and miles in bulk? What's the other stuff that you do for your training and conditioning?
Probably the hardest part is just getting yourself out there and doing it, because it's just it's easy to know, like, I'm just going to stay in bed today, or I'm just going to take a day off today. There was a time and a place years ago where you could do that, because I was young. I was just growing up and doing other things, and it wasn't where it is now. Whereas now it's what I want to do. It's what I want to go forward and be successful in, and ultimately is also my job as well. So you can't just, I'm going to sleep in today and miss there. You got to hold yourself accountable, and that's the hardest part, I think, is staying honest with yourself and keeping everything realistic.
You train Christmas Day, man. Saw that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it all depends what day Christmas falls on, to be honest.
So just getting out of helping out around the house, though, to get dinner ready. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. That's all good. In terms of your training, it does look, pretty relentless and what have you. When you go away on a camp, like, you're in South Africa, what are you doing out there? Is that just in terms of getting to a different location? Is that a mindset change, a reset? Is that good for doing that? And then specific stuff that you're doing over there?
All of the above, really. It's a good time. I normally go 2-3 times a year, but I think the most recent one in January, it's just great because in terms of what I have going on as well with uni, there's almost no commitments in terms of turning up to lectures, because it's a period of you're not at uni, so I can kind of just put pure focus onto running and training, really. So things do ramp up as well in terms of training, because I think you're in a great warm weather, altitude environment, and you have nothing to do but training. So it's, again, a fine balance, because you go there with a plan of doing slightly more, but then you don't want to do too much, because your body might not be able to handle it. So you obviously want to keep things measured.
You're obviously at the stage of your career where you've made this transition to seniors. You've got big aspirations. Only recently you were on that junior circuit. I'm guessing your family, they make a lot of sacrifices to make this happen. It's not just about you, and not just you, I guess anyone in your position. Athletes are, I guess, driven around to all sorts of competitions all over the place. There must be big sacrifices that are made.
Yeah, sacrifices obviously are made, but then it got to a point where I think the sacrifices that were specific to me didn't become sacrifices, because I wasn't losing out on anything that I didn't want to lose out on. I was doing it because I wanted to do it, so I didn't really view it as a sacrifice. And I think that was a good mindset to have, that it was all because I wanted to do it, not because it's actually you've got a choice here of actually it's this or this. So it's what I like. No, I want to do this. Like, so that it's no question to me that I wanted to do it. But in terms of like parents and family and stuff, they've been non-stop supportive of me from whatever I wanted to do, back when I played rugby or now, still to the days now.
They must be really proud.
For sure. I mean, yeah, parents have been nothing but supportive. My brother and sister as well, and even my grandparents, they've always been there and done what they could to help and where they can help. And obviously my parents still go above and beyond now to help me out.
How much of a driving force is that for you?
Massive, obviously I've seen what they've been able to give me through the sacrifices that they've made in order to give me the best platform that I can to be where I am now and give myself the best shot at becoming successful.
You talked about your family and the sacrifice that they've made and how important that is to you. I guess, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you kind of want to repay that, I guess, don't you? When people put themselves out for you like that. And you talk about the sacrifices that you make to be an athlete, because most 20-year-olds are not going out doing what you're doing at the moment. They're going out having a few drinks, having a good time.
Yeah.
Leeds City Centre, going out. I guess most of your friends, that's what they do.
Yeah, and I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I have time as well to obviously have a life, you could say. But again, it's like it's all there's a time and a place for it. I know when it's time to actually be like, you know what, this isn't the time. You know, you need to concentrate on this, or you can be a bit more laid back, and I can, you know, meet up with my friends and see them and have fun. So yeah, it's a good balance to have. I'm not just going to completely like shut off and make it my whole world, because it's important to have something away from training and athletics, because there's only so many hours of the day you can train. You know, it's not like I'm there at the track or in the gym 24/7. I'm only there for a small period of time, essentially. So it's important to have kind of a break away from things and just put my spikes on and just relax.
What is it you do to relax then? What are you doing away from the track to just stop thinking? Is there somewhere you go, things you like to do?
I mean, I've got a dog now, so that's a new responsibility.
Oh yeah, so what's your dog called?
Winston.
Wait, did Winston come out with you on Christmas Day?
Yeah.
Training.
No,
that seems really harsh on Winston, I gotta say.
Little sausage dog, yeah. No, so it's fun to have him. You know, we'll go on long walks and stuff. Take him down to the coffee shop, and just it's nice to obviously have another reason to get out, and rather than just cocoon myself when I'm tired. But when I'm meeting my mates, again, it's just going out for lunch, or if we want to do something a bit more, rather than just sat down, I go go-karting a lot with some of my mates, bowling, play a bit of pool, play a bit of snooker. So it's not, yeah.
Highest break?
Yeah.
Highest break in snooker?
Not high.
Okay, fine.
Not
Do you know what? That's really reassuring, because it's nice to know that you're not good at everything. For like me, you know, because I got high 30s once, so that's quite good. If you haven't done that, then I've got one, which is a good thing. I'm guessing you said when you go away, there's not too much that you miss. Do you miss Winston at least?
In the initial part.
I think,
of course.
It's too focused on
to start off with, it's a bit like, oh, I do miss him. But it becomes to a point where it's like, actually, it's nice to be able to have a nap without a little sausage dog crawling all over you, or wanting to be fed, or wanting to go out for a walk. It's nice. But again, there's two sides to the coin of it. Obviously, he's great to have. There's almost like a breakaway from things as well, and he's full of character as well, so he's fun to have.
I don't know why, mate. I'm getting the feeling that like Winston has you and maybe other family members wrapped around his little paw.
Yeah. More so my dad. Okay. He'll never admit that.
No, it stays between you and me and everyone listening to the podcast. Yeah. That's all good. I just want to talk a little bit about the road to Paris, because you know you're still very young in terms of your opportunities for Olympics, and there are no guarantees as to what's going to happen this summer. What does that road look like? I guess there's lots of hoops to jump through. There's a kind of roadmap. There's a direction of travel. What are you going to have to do to make it there? And what's between now and then? What's that chronological order?
Well, first things, tick off the qualifying time. You know, I was agonisingly close to it last year, but just missed out. And then we know it's there. We know it's well within my capability.
When you say agonisingly close, what's the time and how close?
Right, the qualifying time is 1:44.7. I ran 1:44.9.
Oh, I mean, even hearing that as not you, it's like quite painful to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the margins we're talking about.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So it's just ticking off the time first. I mean, once you've got that, and then you can kind of actually think this is a real possibility. Without the time, you can't think, okay, there's a possibility. You've got to get the time first, and then it's just getting race fit really, and just putting yourself in the best position when it comes around to the trials in June, I think, something about that. Making sure you're ready to go on the day, and ultimately get in the top two, if not win it. Like, end of the day, we all know what the qualification standard is, and everyone.
Is that the Europeans?
No, so that's the Olympics. So
that's
Europeans is the start of June. So
fine, okay,
it's a couple of weeks before. So yeah, there's obviously multiple competitions going on. There's Europeans obviously before, and that'll be a target as well, because why not? I mean, I've never been to a European Senior Champs. It'll be a chance to put on the GB kit again, but on a senior level. So again, like I said, stepping stones to get into the highest level is obviously going to Europeans as well, because that's not going to be easy at all. There's, like I said, there's multiple people who can be on that team, and it's going to be a hard task getting there as well. Never mind once you're there trying to go for a medal. It's just getting there. Like I said before, the 800 is stacked. But I think before that, it's just knuckling down, carrying training. Luckily, I'll be going away to South Africa again soon to kind of get things going and just get a final tune up before we head into races.
So before we started like pressing the record button, having a chat for the podcast, we were talking about a few of the bits and stuff like that. And you're a football fan, invite you onto a podcast here with Welcome to Leeds, about Leeds athletes. And then you tell me you're a Man City fan, which is listen, it's disappointing, Ethan. I'm not going to lie. It's a little bit disappointing. But the reason why I mention football is that whenever you speak to footballers or football managers, also, well, it's one game at a time. They won't allow themselves to look further than that because, they've got a plan for the season, but actually they won't allow their focus to go off the next game because they come so quick and so fast, even if they're in that great position. What about you? Have you allowed yourself to think about what it might feel like to get that time, get that qualification, and get to that dream goal that is your aspiration? Or are you very much focused on it has to be chunk by chunk and we tick one off as we go along? How does it work for you? How do you play
both? I know I've got to have that as a driving force almost. I want that feeling of crossing the line, seeing that I've firstly run the qualifying time, and then obviously the next stage is qualifying in the top 3, top 2. So you've got to use that as a driving force. The feeling is unmatched. I can almost say. So that's almost a driving force. But then if you pull it back to the basics, it's just actually let's not get carried away now. Like that's still months away. It's session by session, day by day, essentially. And then once races start to come, it's actually like let's pick off the races. Let's get through this race. Let's stay fit. Essentially, is also very key, and not racing yourself into the ground. So it's being measured and calculated on everything that you do, but also having a driving force.
I think a lot of people would find that difficult to compartmentalize the two things. So there's the ultimate dream, but there's the grind to get there as well. Like, if I was just thinking about the Olympics and what I might feel like to win a gold medal at the Olympics, at some point in the future, that could be a distraction from doing what you do. Is it difficult to find that balance?
It could be a distraction, but ultimately it could also make it all worth it. Like you're saying, waking up at God knows what time in the morning to go out training, come back, train again in the evening. You know that if you pull it off, you won't sit there being like, oh, why did I do this? Why did I do that? You'll be like, okay, like that's fine. You almost forget everything that happened because it's paid off. It's worth it. And even if I don't go to the Olympics, it'll still all be worth it anyway because I'll have still got some sort of success out of the season of whether or not it is the top goal or not.
You did say in a previous interview that your ambition is to win an Olympic gold. So a few years ago, you said that you're a bit younger. Is that always going to be the ultimate for an athlete? Yeah.
You obviously want to be the best and the best you can be, and everyone's success is differently measured. But I think for me, it's obviously a lifelong dream. I think for athletics, obviously for different sports, you've obviously got the highest level of competition. Football, it's Premier League, Champions League, World Cup. But for us athletes, it's every 4 years at the Olympics. That's the highest level of competition. You want to compete there, and you go there to win gold, essentially. So it'd be unbelievable to even just get a medal to start off with, and then world's your oyster from there.
One of the reasons why we're doing this podcast is because the city is so rich in talent. You mentioned about Johnny, Brownlee, and training. You're really lucky actually to be at the stage of your career at where there are some veteran athletes who wouldn't mind me using that word. They're at that end of their career who've been there, who've done it as well. What kind of advice do you get from people like Johnny and who else creates that sort of support network of athletes for the city?
I mean, just up in my training group, we've got Alex Bell, who is an Olympic finalist, Phil Sessman, who's just recently ran the Olympic qualifying time, and obviously the Brownlee brothers, who have been in and around our training group, who have multiple Olympic medals, world championship titles to their names. So it's the talent and the successes is everywhere, that you can almost take different parts of their support, and they've all been there and done it. So advice from them is going to be massive, and you are going to take it because they can offer some great advice to help you along the way. And that's kind of what I've been blessed with from a young age, being where I am based, is that I've always been the youngest, and there's always been elders around me that have been in positions that I've been in. It's not like it's a whole new thing that I'm experiencing. It's someone's been there and they've done it before, and there's enough people to kind of help me along the process.
I'm buzzing to do another series of this in like 12 years' time. I'm not sure where the Olympics are there. There'll be someone sat opposite me going, yeah, we've got like, veterans like Ethan, and he's just been great with advice and telling us how to go about and do it. But that's the things that talent breeds talent, doesn't it? And this city has a nucleus of amazing talent. If you can tap in on that, it does give a bit of an edge, gives a bit of an advantage for you.
Yeah. I mean, you hear it every 4 years when everyone compares Yorkshire to the rest of the world in Olympic medals.
Were we fifth at one point in the last one? I'm sure we were.
Yeah. So it speaks for itself, really. And you just, if you can, branch out, network, and tap in where you can.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Interested for you, London 2012, you will have been 9-10 years old, around that kind of age.
Yeah.
Was that a thing for you at that age? Was that your first time seeing things, thinking, oh, this is amazing? Because there was such a buzz around the country as a whole. You were pretty young at the time, but do you have any memories from that? Do you think that was inspiring for you, or actually did it just kind of pass you by?
Yeah, London was massive for obviously anyone in my generation, kind of the London legacy after that, Super Saturday, I think it was, on the track. It kind of obviously resonated with a lot of people my age in terms of an inspiration and kind of helping athletes, or just any person in sport, having a driving force to help them along the way. But like my first memory of watching a major champs, I think, was the Commonwealth of Delhi. I remember watching that, and it was great to watch. I just love sport. I was just watching it all, and then London was great. But I think what was before that was that my older sister ran at the Olympic Stadium in the test event, and I was there to watch it. And that was great because me and my sister have obviously always had this great rivalry within athletics of who's the most successful one. And up until recently, the only thing she had on me was racing the Olympic Stadium. Regardless of everything else that I did, she had that over me, but I managed to tick that one off this year at the Diamond League event this year.
So, like, we've been chatting for a while now, and we have now found the motivation. It took us a while to get there.
Yeah.
We felt it's all to do with sibling rivalry.
Yeah, sibling rivalry and having, not validation, but just having that little one-up of, I've done this, like, your move.
Yeah, right. We've broken you down now psychologically. It's good. We got there in the end. Let me ask you about something that we're asking everyone to bring in, a little something that means something special to them throughout their career so far. And yours is, the start of your career, hopefully building to big things. So what have you brought with you? And can you tell us a little bit about what it is and why?
So I thought it'd be too obvious to bring in a medal or something like that.
I was hoping for a medal, mate. I'm not gonna lie. Someone wanted to put it on and everything.
Something a bit different. And in Colombia, I thought, a cool thing to keep of when I've had a very good performance at an event would be the room key to the hotel room.
The room key to your hotel room in Colombia.
Yeah. So I kept it. I've got a nice little stack at home of every race that I'm satisfied with, or very happy, or got a smile on my face after. So I've kept them as a nice little. So
your benchmark for how your career goes is going to be how high stacked your hotel room cards are.
Yeah.
So have you thrown a few out as well, or?
There's fun. I'm just like,
yeah.
You can stay there, not even thinking about it.
So there it is, just a little room cut of all the things that you.
Something different.
First pair of running shoes, medals. But you gone with something
different, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, I know some people obviously like to collect like little shot glasses of the places, but I thought, no, I want my own little thing, something different. Bit weird, but
have you say about things that are quotes a little bit weird and stuff, but athletes and people in sport can have those little things that mean something to them that everyone else might look at thinking, what is it? Do you have any kind of like pre-race ritually type stuff? Are you in that mindset, or you just get out there and do it?
Yeah, I am and I aren't. I'm not. Because some things, obviously, you got to be flexible, and sometimes you can't do it because of where you are. Like, I used to always have a haircut before a race, but recently that's obviously not always possible because you're traveling around. But yeah, one thing was a superstitious haircut, and yeah. But just simple stuff like same music I'll always listen to when I'll warm up, or like
What are you listening to?
We'll keep that one quiet.
Oh, hey, listen, that's fine.
Not getting judged, but no, I don't know. It just helps me get in the zone.
You've really got me intrigued. You've actually really got me intrigued there. Genre?
No.
No. Oh, hey.
Very random. Very random.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just like to keep things simple. I don't like to overthink it too much when I'm preparing for a race, because I know that if I start to overthink it, I'll get inside my own head. And yeah, I think different people have obviously helped me to keep things as simple as possible. You know, one person always said, just think of it as like golf. What would you hit? And we always say 9 iron, 150 yards. Just keep it simple.
Keep it simple. It's all good to me. I want to ask you a little bit more about Leeds as well. In a section of the podcast, which I have incredibly and inventively named after taking the word athlete and the word Leeds and merging them together to create athletes, which I can see you're incredibly impressed about, as I was when I did it. So if you would humour me for a moment. A few questions about Leeds, all right? It's going to get one of two ways, that. Best place to go in the city centre?
For anything or?
Yeah, you tell me.
Olive and Rye, great cafe.
That is in one of the arcades, isn't it?
Yeah.
Queens, yeah. It's really on the steep uphill. It's really nice there.
Yeah.
They're going to be buzzing. They got a shout out. Look at that. Amazing. Nice brunch.
Great.
All right. We'll go at some point. Your place to go for a bit of headspace?
Golden Acre Park.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Which side?
Oh.
Main Park or Paul's Pond?
Paul's Pond.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
Nice crunchy day.
Yeah.
Walk around there. That was a proper... obviously, you mentioned COVID earlier. That was a proper COVID walk for us. Back to Paul's Pond.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, back to Paul's Pond. Glorious up there, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know that side.
Yeah, I think I've appreciated it more. With obviously living up that side of Leeds now with training and university and with the dog as well. It's nice to get out there. Nice little drive up, take the dog, ice cream on a summer's day.
I'm a little bit worried. I'm assuming Winston's pretty small. Yeah. And it can get very muddy there. I'm worried about him like sinking into the mud.
Yeah, I'm worried he's not.
Fine. He doesn't care. Why should I? Your Leeds foodie haven.
Has to be a place called West Park Lounge at the top of Otley Road. Just a nice little local spot around the corner from me. They know me very well in there. I'm in there most days. It just hits the spot. It's just great in there. I've been going there for about 10 years now. After training, and
are you using this section to angle for discounts? Is that what's happening here?
I just love food.
Okay. Leeds music scene. Gig you've been to, band you like from the city. Do you get opportunity?
Don't get massive opportunity now. Not being able to venture out much, but I will be listening to other podcasts to get some recommendations.
All right. I tell you what. You've been like really open and honest about this, and it's been great chatting to you. But when it's come to music, you've been very secretive.
Well, weirdly enough, my music genres range massively, depending on anything. I'll listen to anything, but I'm specific about my warm up stuff.
All right, okay, we know we found out. Okay, now Leeds sporting teams. Like I say, we were chatting earlier. You're a Man City fan.
Yeah.
Do you support any of the Leeds teams?
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, you said in the podcast, grew up playing rugby. Dad was heavily involved when it was Leeds Tykes and Leeds Carnegie, so I was massively around obviously the Rhinos and the rugby union team there. Still support them massively now. Love to watch them.
What position did you play when you were playing?
Anywhere in the back.
Anywhere in the back. I can play anywhere in the back, mate. And so you get down to some games from time to time?
Recently, no, but in the
When you
past, I've spent my weekends there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because you were saying earlier, someone who will be very familiar with a lot of people listening who are Leeds United fans.
Yeah.
Who you went to school with.
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to go to school with Archie Gray. Loved by Leeds United fans, and everyone in football will probably know him. Coming up, a great footballer. But yeah, I think school I went to, it was great for sport. We've had a lot of athletes come through there, especially on the athletic side. People like George Mills, Jacob Fincham-Dukes, over across George Mills is over at St Aidan's, but it's a joint sixth form, and I know the guys up there will be very proud of everyone coming through on the sporting side of scene up there.
Because George, as in
Danny Mills.
George's old man Danny, he played for Leeds, of course, didn't he? Yeah. It's a lot of. Imagine going to that school and not being good at sport. Be absolutely. In fact, imagine going to that school and being like regular good at sport, and then be like, look at these guys. I got no chance. Archie Gray and Ethan's running ridiculous times and stuff. But he's doing all right, isn't he?
Yeah, doing very well.
Okay, you're out of the city spot. So in the sort of wider area that you like to go to.
I like to go down to London, to be honest.
No, that's mate. I'm talking like
local.
Yeah, maybe like on a boat down the river in Nesborough or something like that. Not London.
Yeah, I mean, going to school in Harrogate, spent a lot of time up in North Yorkshire and stuff. So yeah, around there, going on drives with my mates around there. A lot of my mates are based up there. So yeah, up around the North Yorkshire, it's nice around there, just to escape to.
Good pivot. You pivoted well there from London. It was all good. Leeds sporting hero?
Alistair. Yeah, it's trackside, seeing him train, preparing for multiple Olympics and coming home with gold. It's just great to see. It's not like it was shut off to me because I was probably 10, 12 and he was one of the best in the world. I was able to see it, him working, and then being able to train with him, and obviously having him as part of a support network as well. Very thankful and gracious to his support along the years. So yeah, Alistair for sure.
And Alistair and Johnny as well, they've done amazing things with their success in terms of the Brownlee Foundation and the work that they do. Is that something that you look ahead to and think, actually, if you can do something that leaves legacy for people, that's an important thing for you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously knowing both the brothers, I was lucky enough a couple of years ago to go along to one of their foundation evenings, and there's just the amount of people there willing to support them, willing to help the good cause. It's just great to see, and multiple times I've been again lucky enough to be up there on stage at the Leeds Sports Awards, and just the amount of people there celebrating the history and all the current great successes we have within the city. It is great, and everyone there is so supportive.
Place in Leeds that holds a great memory for you, and that it could be just personally, it could be sporting, but a place in Leeds that holds a great memory for you.
Probably put West Park, the rugby club. Yeah, spent a lot of my time there when I was young. Obviously playing rugby there, just running around. Just whilst all the parents are in the bar after the main games, I'd be there with my mates, just running around till God knows what time of the evening. Whether it would playing rugby, football, or just playing some random game we've thought of that day. Just great memories up there. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you as well about how was Athletes for you? Was that all right?
Yeah, impressive.
Yeah. Name of it, title, pretty good. Yeah, you're humouring me. That's fine. That's all good. I appreciate it. Go through the motions there. In terms of you being inspired by Alistair, Johnny, those people in the city that have done such great things, there'll hopefully be people who'll pick this up that are maybe parents of kids, or maybe even some kids who are listening who are like you were at one point doing multiple sports, but actually really good, and thinking, maybe I've got something. They might be inspired by the Olympics, by this conversation.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to them that you would have, I guess, given to yourself 10 years ago, had you looked at what you now know in terms of going through the junior ranks and the lessons you've learned along the way? And listen, so much of it has gone to plan, but then there are moments of adversity and there are frustrations, I'm sure. What advice would you give to kids right now?
Just don't rush. just have fun whilst you can. Don't make the decision too soon to kind of start dropping off sports. Just do as much as you can for as long as you can. I've learnt the hard way over years to don't rush things, and it'll come. If you put in the hard work, you'll reap the rewards for sure.
Awesome, man. It's been so nice speaking with you and hearing about where you're at. That ultimate dream of the Olympics, there's a lot of work to do in terms of, look, this is your first shot of trying to make it to an Olympics, and you're going to hopefully have a long career in front of you. But how excited are you at the prospect of what maybe this next few months, this summer, might have in store for you?
Obviously really excited because, it goes one way or the other, and both will have learning curves regardless, and experiences to take away to build on year. So I think there's obviously the overarching goal of making Olympics, but it's not the end of the day if I don't, because like I said, I'm still only 20, and there's a good future ahead of me for sure that I can take away from this year that hopefully will be a successful one to move forward and build on success.
I want you to do me a favour. If you reach the ultimate goal of winning an Olympic gold, whatever year that might be in, and you're on the podium and you're in your Team GB and it's the moment and your gold medal's put around your neck, a lot of people, they get the gold medal, they kiss the gold medal.
Yeah.
Can you just pull out that hotel card? Yeah, give it a kiss. Up in the air. We did it, man. We did it.
That would be funny, yeah. Everyone's got their own little thing. Mo had his little thing, so I could turn it into one of my things, just pulling out the hotel room.
It's the hotel card that you'll be known as. All the best with the rest of the season and the upcoming season, and hopefully the Olympics at some point, whether it be now, whether it be sometime in the future. Really, really great speaking to you, and thanks for being on the pod, man.
Thank you very much.